In 2021, Conor McGregor bought a pub on the coast just outside Dublin, a few steps from the Howth Yacht Club where he parks his yachts. And when the news broke, he posted 5 words that told you everything about how he sees his hometown. "The town is mine." Then he added, "And my town is your town." Now, plenty of athletes buy a flashy car or a mansion in Miami. McGregor did something stranger. He started buying back the actual streets he grew up on. The pubs, the brands, the postal code itself. This is the story of how a plumber's apprentice from a working-class corner of Dublin turned his fists into a property and drinks empire stretching across the Irish capital. And how that empire got tested in a way nobody saw coming. Let's start where he started. Conor McGregor was born in Crumlin, a tight-knit suburb on Dublin's south side. Rows of terraced houses, a boxing gym, the kind of place where everybody knows your family. His people later moved out to Lucan, but Crumlin stayed in his blood. And Crumlin sits inside a Dublin postal district with a number you might recognize. D12. Dublin 12. Hold on to that number, because years later, it becomes the name on a bottle that changed his entire life. Back then, McGregor was collecting welfare payments and training at the Straight Blast gym in Dublin, throwing kicks in a freezing industrial unit. He told anyone who would listen that he was going to be rich and famous. Most people in the neighborhood thought he was dreaming. By 2013, he was signing with the UFC. By 2015, he was a world champion, knocking out Jose Aldo in 13 seconds. And by 2017, he had stepped into a Las Vegas boxing ring against Floyd Mayweather, and he walked away with the biggest payday of his life. That's where the fighting money came from. But fighting money disappears. McGregor wanted something that would keep paying him long after the cage. So in 2018, he launched an Irish whiskey, and he gave it that hometown name. Proper Num 12. The whiskey industry laughed at first. Here was a brash UFC fighter walking into a market ruled by Jameson, a brand older than the United States. But McGregor had something the old distilleries did not. Tens of millions of social media followers and a face people could not look away from. He sold the bottle the same way he sold his fights. Loud, everywhere, all at once. It worked. Proper number 12 moved hundreds of thousands of cases in its first couple of years. The bottles, designed with that distinctive Crumlin postal nod, started showing up on shelves in supermarkets across Ireland and bars across America. And then came the payday that turned a fighter into a mogul. In 2021, McGregor and his partners sold their majority stake in the whiskey to a spirits giant called Proximo Spirits, the same company behind Jose Cuervo and Bushmills. The deal was reported to be worth up to $600 million. McGregor's personal cut was reported in the range of well over $100 million. He topped the Forbes list of the world's highest-paid athletes that year, sitting above Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi. And most of that money did not come from fighting at all. It came from a whiskey bottle named after his neighborhood. So now he had the fortune. The question was what to do with it. And this is where the story gets interesting, because McGregor did not move to a tax haven and disappear. He went home and started shopping. The first big purchase was personal. In his old Crumlin neighborhood, there was a pub called the Marble Arch. Years earlier, in 2019, McGregor had been filmed throwing a punch at an older man inside that very pub, an incident he later apologized for and was fined for. Then, around 2020, he bought the place. Reports put the price at roughly 1.9 million euros, with another 1 million euros poured into a full renovation. He renamed it the Black Forge Inn, gutted the interior, and turned a sleepy local boozer into a gleaming gastropub with chandeliers, leather booths, and a private room. He even put his own stout on tap there. Suddenly, the spot where he had once made headlines for the wrong reasons was a destination. Influencers, fighters, and celebrities started flying in just to eat a steak under McGregor's roof. Paddy Pimblett ate there, and McGregor reportedly covered the entire bill without even glancing at it. Dan Bilzerian dropped by. Katie Price and singer James Arthur showed up. A working-class Dublin pub had become a celebrity clubhouse, and McGregor was just getting started. Next came the coast. In 2021, he bought the Waterside Bar in Howth, the seaside village northeast of Dublin City. The location was no accident. The Howth Marina is where McGregor docks his luxury yachts when he is home in Ireland, including a triple-deck vessel and a sleek Lamborghini-branded boat. So now he could sail in, tie up, and walk a few steps to a pub he owned. That is the purchase that prompted the phrase, "The town is mine," in a tweet. If you are enjoying this deep dive into how McGregor built his hometown empire, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button. I break down the business empires behind the world's biggest athletes every single week. Now let's talk about just how far this Dublin takeover actually goes, because two pubs was never the plan. In a 2024 interview filmed inside the Black Forge, McGregor casually mentioned that he had around 5 more pubs in various stages of construction and renovation around Dublin. Different names, he said, but the same standard. So picture a map of the city, slowly filling up with venues that all funnel back to one man. And the pubs are only one arm of it. There's Forged Irish Stout, his dark beer that he test-marketed in the Black Forge before pushing it nationwide, going head-to-head with Guinness on Guinness's own home turf. There's the Mac Life, his media and lifestyle outlet. There's his sportswear and the endless brand deals. He even made his Hollywood debut alongside Jake Gyllenhaal in the remake of Roadhouse. Pile it all together, and most estimates put McGregor's net worth somewhere in the hundreds of millions of dollars. So why Dublin? Why pour all that whiskey money back into a city he could easily leave behind for the sunshine and lower taxes of Dubai or Monaco? The answer is part heart and part strategy. McGregor's entire brand is built on being the Crumlin kid who made it. That underdog story is worth a fortune, and you cannot sell it from a yacht in the Mediterranean. By owning the pubs, the postal code, the local stout, he keeps living the story in real time. Every venue with his name on it is a billboard for the legend. The Black Forge isn't really losing money as a pub, even though reports suggested it ran at a loss early on. It's a marketing machine that keeps McGregor stamped onto the streets of Dublin. It's a clever loop. The fame sells the whiskey buys the pubs. The pubs keep the fame alive in his hometown, and around it goes. For a while it looked unstoppable. Then came 2024, and the empire faced its hardest test. In November of that year, a Dublin civil court jury found against McGregor in a case brought by a woman who accused him of assault. The jury awarded her damages of just under €250,000. McGregor said he intended to appeal and maintained his position, but the verdict landed like a hammer on the business side of his world. Within days, the fallout spread through the very Dublin streets he had been buying up. Major Irish retailers including Tesco, SuperValu, Spar, Centra, and Costcutter confirmed they would stop selling his drink brands. The operator of Dublin and Cork airports pulled Proper No. 12 and Forged Irish Stout from its duty-free shelves. The products McGregor had built his fortune on were being quietly removed from shops across the country. Now here is a twist most people miss. McGregor no longer owned Proper No. 12 outright. He had sold the controlling stake back in 2021. So the whiskey giant that owned it announced it would stop using his name and likeness to market the brand entirely. The face was being peeled off the bottle. The empire he had built on his own image suddenly faced the risk of that image becoming a liability. It was a stark reminder that an empire built on one man's name rises and falls with that name. So where does the Dublin Empire stand today? The pubs are still his. The Black Forge still pulls in tourists who want a photo where McGregor pours pints. The yachts still sit in Howth Harbour. The property and the brands he fully owns remain in his hands, and the man himself shows no sign of stepping back. Still teasing fights, still talking about expansion, still posting from the city he calls his own. But the story has shifted. What looked like a clean rise to mogul tale has become something more complicated. A fortune funded by fighting, a homecoming spent buying back the streets that raised him, and a brand so tied to one person that the whole thing trembles when that person stumbles. Conor McGregor once said the town was his. The truth is more interesting than a tweet. He really did stitch his name into a corner of Dublin, from a postal code to a whiskey to a string of pubs. Whether that empire outlasts the controversies surrounding its owner is the one fight even he can't script. What do you think? Was buying up his own hometown a genius move or a risky bet on his own name? Drop your take in the comments. If you want more breakdowns of the business empires behind the world's biggest fighters, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.